Hello, and welcome to the FM Podcast. I'm Jen Fritz, and I run Fritz Media, a music publicity and digital marketing firm located in Vancouver, Canada. And this is episode number 66 of the podcast. So the topic of this week's show is keeping the music alive. And joining me on the show is Dan Cervantes, who is a multi-hyphenate musician, singer-songwriter, producer, record label owner. He runs Blind Owl Records. And for the purposes of this conversation, he is also the guitarist and co-founder of Chest Fever, which is the official revival of the band. Dan and I had a great conversation about why the music of the band continues to resonate all these decades later, the role tribute and legacy acts play in preserving musical history, the community that forms around this music, and so much more. It was a really great talk, and I hope you enjoy it. Here's my conversation with Dan Cervantes. Well, hello, Dan. How are you doing today?
Hey, Jen. I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good too, actually. It's been like super hot here in Vancouver, and today is actually like a reprieve. Like it's cloudy and cooler, and I am loving it.
There you go.
Yeah, it is so good. It's really good to see you, although we did just see each other briefly on a Zoom call last week.
Did.
Yeah, you never put your picture on the Zoom call, which I always love. But you popped in real quick, which was nice.
I did. That was one of those days where I preferred to be unseen as long as I could, given the amount I was in and the amount of sweat I was profusing. Yeah. Being in Nashville, Tennessee, I wear a jacket wherever I go when I'm not wearing a jacket. So.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, I'm the same. Some days are not, picture on days. I totally get that. I guess that brings up to the point, as full disclosure for everybody, that you are a Fritz Media client, and we have done a number of projects together. I just like to say that when it happens, not that it makes any difference, but I guess I just like people to know that, I work with some great artists. So it's always nice to let people know. So to get things started here, I'm going to begin with the question that I like to ask all of my guests. And that is, how did you get your start in music?
Well, I grew up listening to music in my household, very much a listening household. My dad had an acoustic guitar under my folks' bed. It was like a nylon classical. And so that was just kind of always there growing up, although he didn't really play that much, only when at like family parties and super, super, super late in the night. But he grew up playing guitar, and he's originally from Mexicali, which is right on the border there, nearish to where I grew up in San Diego, California. So, when the guitar is in the house, you just,
what are you going to do?
It's there for a reason. What are you going to do? Stare at it?
You had no choice.
Yeah.
Did you were you in bands when you were in high school and stuff too?
I was in bands. I mean, I had a band. I never really I've joined bands. I've joined many bands, but I always started bands or was, and mainly just found it easier to find like-minded people. And I tried to join the first band and they said, we already have a guitarist. And so I was like, okay. And so I went to the other dude who was sitting next to me at lunch, who was a friend, like, why don't we start up our band? And he was pretty terrible at drums and I was pretty terrible at guitar, but we made enough noise and played Zeppelin's How Many More Times enough that it started to catch on. So.
Yeah, you just got to keep at it, right? 10,000 hours and all that, So the title of this week's show is Keeping the Music Alive. And I wanted to talk to you because you are a musician in your own band, which is Mrs. Henry. But you're also in the band Chest Fever, which is a tribute act for the band. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Chest Fever, how about if you tell us a little bit about the band and what drew you to the music of the band?
The band. Well, the band draws a lot of folks in and still draws a lot of folks in. And it just kind of came to me out of somewhere. And Americana at its soul, but at its heart, rock and roll. So being a musician, I've just found myself gravitating towards it. And ultimately I got really involved playing the band's music out of a quest to play in other bands that were like, well, if you want this gig, and this is at a time when I was living in LA and I was actively looking to play in other people's bands, get hired in other people's bands, be a part of other cool bands.
Yeah.
For this one particular band that I really wanted to be a part of, they're like, you gotta get the band. You gotta know what this is coming from. And I didn't really get it and know it. And
Yeah.
there was a bassist in the group who really helped mentor me and was like, well, you're going to learn and figure this out. And if this can make sense, and I be put up on Cripple Creek, like on YouTube, and we watched the video and I was like, whoa, okay, I think I can do this. I think I get what's happening here. And, and thus began that. I remember my dad early on rented The Last Waltz on Laserdisc for like Thanksgiving one year. I was like, what the hell is this?
What are we doing here?
Yeah. I was like, this isn't Guns N' Roses, or this isn't, Third Eye Blind or Blink-182, whatever the hell I was listening to then. And still listening to now. But.
Yeah, of course. You just were not ready for it maybe at that time.
Yep.
That happens. The band's music's been around for more than 50 years now. What is it about those songs, do you think, that still continue to resonate with audiences today?
I think they're good songs. So that's generally, I think that's kind of it, Yeah, it's got to be good, and it's got to be good enough to have people want to pick it up at their lowest of low and highest of highs. I think, and everywhere in between. I think that's why the band's music continues to be played and performed and sought after by people, and continues to be.
There's often a misconception that tribute bands are just about imitation. How do you approach performing this music in a way that kind of honors the originals while still feeling like authentic to yourselves?
I'd say, the band was as original as they were an amalgamation and the influences of all these other bands that they were just imitating and wanted to be doing and playing. And through that imitation or interpretation and respect and admiration, they created the band's music and songs. Like, no song comes out of thin air. It takes one and two to make three. So, I just saw the movie Song Sung Blue. Have you seen that?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. This is Neil Diamond movie, right?
Neil Diamond movie with Hugh Jackman. Go watch it. Yeah. Like I said, it was really cool. And it's about a Neil
He's
Diamond,
an impersonator, right?
Well, no, he's an interpreter. And in it, he goes by, he's like, I'm not a Neil Diamond impersonator, I'm a Neil Diamond interpreter. And this movie's about this Neil Diamond interpreter and the idea that he chose Neil Diamond and out of a respect and an admiration, like nobody does Neil. He was like, nobody at the time doing this in that era. It's in Wisconsin.
Oh, geez.
It's filmed in Wisconsin. I'm thinking in the late 80s or early 90s. Yeah. Nobody was doing Neil Diamond, at least there. And so he was interpreting it. And when you see the way he does it, he was 100% interpreting Neil Diamond, not doing it note for note. There was like a female counterpart that sang with it. So they were doing these duets and doing all these cool arrangements with horn sections and stuff. So what I look at, what we've been doing since we started Chest Fever was at first playing it and just playing the songs. And at a certain point, once you know them and play them and you give all your respect and admiration to replicate, then I think the next thing is only to, reimagine it and then do something new with it. And that's
why not, right? Yeah. What's the point of just doing it note for note? I mean, even if you think about the best cover songs, it's not note for note, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have a new live album that was, you just announced that it's coming out this September. It is called The 21st Century Last Waltz, which celebrates, it's in the name, one of the most iconic concerts that was ever staged. What made you want to recreate that experience, and what did you hope to capture that the studio recording couldn't?
Yeah, well, it's kind of in the name. There will always only ever be a last waltz, the last waltz that has ever existed that is there. So much like there's, centuries later interpretations of Beethoven's Ninth or, Mozart and Bach. It's kind of a way to freshen up and bring this catalog into now with an open-ended book of what that means, as this has now been interpreted in the 21st century, whereas the last waltz is of the 20th century. So it kind of seemed apropos of doing something, and obviously a big component of this is that it was recorded live at Massey Hall.
Yes.
And the initial catalyst of it was doing a show at Massey Hall. Not only that, less than a year prior, and you could call it a year prior, having sold out the Horseshoe Tavern and had this story, kind of a story of going from the Horseshoe Tavern to Massey Hall, and pretty much everybody who said you're out of your minds and crazy and don't do it. Even the venue trying to we think you should do the Roy Thomas something. I don't really think this. The Horseshoe Tavern is not Massey Hall. We're like, yeah, we know, but this should be at Massey Hall, and we're going to do it at Massey Hall. And it was literally at the Horseshoe Tavern where some guys like, oh, this should be something at Massey Hall. We're like, yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't you call them up and let them know we're down to do it?
Yeah.
And then on a Zoom meeting 2 weeks later, you guys are serious? We're like, yeah, dude, let's bring this Massey Hall. And then we just from one way or another and then just kind of went from there. So if it had been any other place or any other journey, it probably wouldn't have been anything. But the fact that it was a monumentous event and a big flash, and absolutely something that radiated, that we felt it was important to not just call it live at Massey Hall, but to give it a timeless, settingless name.
Yeah.
I guess it's putting a time. It's saying, so maybe in 100 years from now, whoever does this again and picks up the baton, they can do the 22nd century last waltz, and we'll see what that sounds like.
That is such a crazy thing to imagine.
Yeah.
Somebody doing that.
It really is. But what's even crazier to think is that in 50 years, it will be the 100th anniversary of it.
Oh my God.
Which, God willing, I'll live to see. And that'll be great.
That is totally insane. Well, the album and also obviously the show featured an incredible lineup of guest performers. It was at Massey Hall, so there's a lot of Canadian performers that were involved, and also international performers. What was it like collaborating with artists? And and I'm sure that they kind of brought their own connection to the music within their performance, maybe.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, there's a lot of. It was all the spectrums of everything, whether that's frustrating, amazing, fun, enjoyable, challenging, rewarding. It's always a gamut of emotions and experiences, and everybody. There's so many. That was probably the largest array of musicians through generations. You had people in their 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s. Probably somebody was a teenager in there I didn't even know about. But you just had this giant array of people I've only, people have maybe been blown up on TikTok and are massive on TikTok, but have never played a bigger stage than a club or something like that, or that. So what Massey Hall? What is this? What's the level? There's no concept. Or you had legendary people like Sylvia Tyson, who, I am, unbeknownst to me, I just didn't know the brevity of her career. And then in a documentary I've been in the works on about this whole experience from the Horseshoe to Massey Hall, I was like, wow, she did some amazing stuff that she's a total rock star. And not that it didn't hold any discredit, but I just was like, I don't know. It's almost
you're not Canadian.
I'm not Canadian. I'm definitely not. But I don't know. So a lot of full scale of everything of everything that went right could go right. Everything that went wrong could go wrong. And it was amazing. Whether it's the Canadian artist we got involved or the Americans we brought in by land, sea, and train,
Yeah. It must have just been a really rewarding experience regardless. You know what I mean?
It definitely was. It's a memory, I think that'd be very hard to forget.
Has performing these songs over the years, like I'm sure you've played them so many times, has it changed your appreciation for the band as musicians or songwriters? Like maybe you've discovered things in the music that you didn't notice when you first started playing it?
Yeah, I think so. The more that we've played it and the more that we've achieved to play it to the best ability. And, this goes to when we take on new songs that we haven't maybe ever played. But even old songs, there's, some songs we can't just be like, let's just pick up this song and play it. There's some stuff that's like, we got to definitely refreshen it. And then it definitely takes some rounds of getting it in. But like, there's so many nuances and intricacies. And it kind of happens as you work on songs as a band. The simple things that maybe 85% of the population just kind of hears and it goes in ear one out in one ear and out the other. There's stuff that's so intricate about the band's music that, for us, it becomes a big challenge of just trying to find those little moments. And that in itself doesn't just become muscle memory, automated. We have to work every single night to make sure we get those things. And, like I said, whether or not the crowd appreciates it or not, they just they're going to sing the song, even if we're hitting the anticipation or the downbeat of anything. So.
No, that's totally true. Actually, that brings me to ask you a question about, is there younger audiences coming, or is it mostly just what I'm imagining?
I would say it's, somebody asked me that today, and there 100% are younger audiences coming out, and it's.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I do too. It's part of something that gave us some belief in that we're more than just doing something on a keep alive sake. It's more of a wow, we're getting to share this music and give people opportunity to hear this music, play it at a very high level.
Yeah.
Who in no way could ever have seen the band. We'll never see the band. I never got to see the band. But it's giving them their discovery. Like, imagine getting turned on to the band when you're 18 or 9 or 10 or 24 or 25 and being like, holy wow, there's a band that tours this. And it's not just the local guys in the pub playing up on Cripple Creek and slaughtering it. It's like a band that, goes out there and makes a living doing it and playing it, and I can go see these guys. It's been really rewarding. I mean, when we played our show in Nashville, there's these two dudes that come out who must only be 20. I don't know. It was an all ages show, and there was a mom who took her kid. Her kid and her mom bought merch for the kid, and the kid couldn't even buy the merch. So I was like, this is nuts. And then there's the two teenage or early 20s dudes who are wearing our Chest Fever shirts that were at the first show we ever did in Chest Fever. And then you have, the boomer audience, and then you have dudes in their 30s or 40s, and then you have the father sons that, it's like this passed down thing. My dad watched The Last Waltz every Thanksgiving, so I watched The Last Waltz, and we bonded. It all became this generational experience. So
love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's so good. But I mean, I guess it's like that with other legacy bands as well. Like you see like younger, like parents going with like their kids and that sort of thing. So yeah, that makes sense then.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, I'd like to think for us, I remember my mom once took me to see like the Fab Four or the something with like the San Diego Pop Symphony doing Sgt. Pepper's, and like being a little bit of a kind of a thing, like a lack of a better word, like a gimmick thing, or like, I know gimmick's maybe not the right word, but like, I'd like to think what we do is definitely not that, because it's a lot more on edge. And I think that's kind of the main component that we like to make sure to do is keep this a rock band. And that's what the band was a rock band, which there's little to no reverence there, just respect. So
how do you like to describe yourself as a band? Like, do you like when people say tribute act? Like, what's the way that you like people to say it?
We're tribute act helps market it. We're a rock band at the end of the day. So, we play the band's music. We used to say we're a band that plays the band. That's probably it at the core.
I like that. There's always so much trouble with the band as a name. Even in me writing the press releases, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Do people understand what I'm even saying? Like, I don't know.
I feel like at some point it'll be accepted when band. I don't know, but it was trouble for the band when the band was a band. So
Yeah, well, they picked the name. So
Yeah.
you've got a Canadian tour kicking off this fall in support of the 21st Century Last Waltz. How does taking this music on the road across Canada feel, considering the band's deep Canadian roots?
It feels great. We've wanted to do this for a while. We've always wanted to do a tour more than just the places we know, which I feel like we know more places than the average Joe. It's so like now we looked at it as good of an opportunity as any to grow that reach and that audience. And, with the 50th anniversary of the actual concert, we felt, now that I feel like now it's apropos that when I live in Nashville. So it kind of gives an opportunity for us to start in one place and leverage getting to Ontario, which is our first kind of foothold we ever established as Chest Fever, was really Ontario being like the place.
Yeah.
And, just one thing has led to another that's made it like, a performing arts center in Dauphin, Manitoba reached out to us on Facebook or Instagram and been like, man, it'd sure be great if you'd come and play Manitoba. And I immediately messaged back, yeah, that'd be awesome. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. Send me an email. Let's do this. And they sent me. I was like, yeah, here you go. Let's do it. He's like, oh, you have this day? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then we just booked it that day. Like an hour later, we did it. And then I was like, cool, we're going to Manitoba. So now I need to get some other shows, and we got to do this. And now we know we've played Saskatchewan. So
they love you in Winnipeg. It's a big music town, man.
Yeah. When Winnipeg's going to be on that list, so it's like I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I know the boys are, to go see places we've never been, and we're really fingers crossing, hoping to get a show in Quebec. That's like
we've never
never been, and
must.
We're trying to make it happen. So all the people out there who I've emailed, get back. Let's do a show.
Yeah. Oh, Montreal's like my second favorite city in this country.
I've never been. I really want to go.
Yeah, you must. This is kind of a question that is about like the theme of the show, keeping the music alive. What role do you think tribute and legacy acts play in today's music scene in kind of like keeping the legacy alive for the band? Because I know that you do some work with the band, like their legacy as well. So
yeah,
do you see that as hand in hand? Like,
I mean, for us, it's a great. I mean, it's working with them it's kind of been a catalyst of why we started it and put it into its own classification. We were an original band playing this music and just kind of doing it as, oh, well, we think people might go and do this, and then we can kind of segue into the real wares we were trying to sell this whole time, which is our original music. But it then became an opportunity for us to actually like, oh, well, we can sell our wares and do this and be able to do it with longevity by entertaining and doing that. And at the end of the day, a component of the music and of the band, or any band legacy or otherwise, it's that music doesn't exist. The music does better and exists further and longer if it's out there being played, because there's nothing like live music.
No,
there's still there's even the concert we did and the live record's great, but seeing us live is the experience. And people, we have people fly around the country to go see us, and you might be like, wow, you fly across the country to go see a tribute band. And for these people, they get it that it's just a thing. It's just the name of what we do, but we're just a band, and this is just the colors we're painting with are all within that set,
Yeah, I mean, those songs are just so incredible. So to see them played well live, I can understand why they're driving or flying. I mean, to go see you. Yeah,
and hopefully they keep doing it.
Yeah, we encourage it, please. Oh my goodness. Well, just kind of wrapping things up just a little bit here. I wanted to kind of end things with a question that I've always actually wondered, which is there one song by the band that still gives you the goosebumps every time you play it? Like one song that kind of hits you?
I don't know. Maybe perhaps The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down would be that one. But it's I don't know. It's a whole array. Different ones hit at different times. But I would say that's one that's had a very electrifying moment many times. And So yeah, I don't know. There's something about
that's a good answer. And also, by the way, it leads me to say that you just released the live footage from SE Hall for that. As a good publicist, I should say that. You can watch that on YouTube, folks, if you'd like to to see it. Oh man. What do you think that the members of the band would think of that? Not just of what you're doing, but of people still celebrating the music 50 years on.
I think they'd get a kick out of it. I think they'd be, pretty stoked. I mean, Levon's daughter is still going out there celebrating his music and her music and doing that. So I don't know. I think they'd appreciate it. Yeah, nonetheless, just be stoked. Who wouldn't? What artist wouldn't be stoked that somebody's that's still playing your songs that you wrote and were doing and still influenced by you 50 years later, 60 years later?
So true. Okay, so now is the time to head on over to our Fresh Content segment. Every week on the show, we discuss our favorite piece of music content for the week, and we always like to start with the guest. So, Dan, what do you got?
Well, and this is where I'm supposed to talk about something fresh that I've heard recently.
Well, it doesn't have to be fresh even. It can be, I did Holes lived through this once. So it's something that you just could be anything. Could be a music documentary, could be, a video you watched.
Oh, sure. I just saw the Hulk Hogan documentary. That was pretty interesting and I don't know, from a perspective of seeing WWF growing up and as a kid, as everyone, at least the kids were it was just part of the culture and the zeitgeist.
Totally.
Pretty amazing to see. It was definitely on my toes watching it. I would say though, the song Sung Blue maybe might
that's
be
a good one. Actually,
I would say that would be the fresh content because I would say, it's a movie. It's not perfect in any way, but it surprised the hell out of me. And I thought I knew it surprised the hell out of me. And maybe from being a performer and a tribute artist, which I actually think it's a movie about a tribute band. And I thought, no, there's more, that's more relevant and prevalent today than probably ever was because there's a lot of tribute bands that make livings doing that. And it's an honest living doing what doing. And so I thought it was really entertaining. So I dug it.
I love it. I'm going to the UK I'm taking a flight to Dublin actually on.
Oh, cool.
And then I'm going to London after that. But that's a good airplane movie.
It should be on the airplane.
Yeah, that's
I was on it. Somebody's like, I watched this on the airplane. I was like, that's a perfect airplane movie.
It is. I'm going to totally download that for it.
And I learned how much I actually really dig Neil Diamond. He's got amazing songs.
Oh, I love it.
He gets a lot of hell, but man, Neil Diamond's got some hits. He's amazing.
I love it. I'm telling you, Forever in Blue Jeans.
Oh, it's great.
Jeez.
Great song.
I love it so much. I know. All right. So my fresh content for the week is, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a total podcast nerd and I'm also a music nerd. So I listen to a lot of podcasts about music. No big surprise. And one of my favorite podcasts is called Bandsplain, which is hosted by the amazing Yassi Salek. It's on the Ringer Podcast Network. Great podcast for just keeping up with, new music, which is really hard to do. And then she also does deep dives on artists and, it's good for artists that maybe you haven't listened to. And it's just a lot of information to find out kind of more about them and their catalog. And she recently did a Madonna series. It was called Madonna Month. And it's a huge 4-part series. And I'm a huge Madonna fan. I grew up in the 80s. So obviously I was a huge Madonna fan. And even I learned a lot of stuff about her. And it's a lot. It's a four episodes, and each episode is 3.5 to 4 hours long.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a lot of information, but it's something you can kind of listen to in chunks. You know what I mean? I just kind of had it on the go all the time. But if there's someone listening out there that knows nothing about Madonna, just listen to it.
Well, I mean, I feel like I know something about her, but I probably know nothing about her.
Yeah, just she's an incredible artist and changed the culture. So, a lot of the female acts out there right now, wouldn't exist without her.
Yeah.
So, She led the way, and we need artists like that. Anyway, I will link to that podcast in the show notes as well as to Dan's picks, and I guess that kind of does it for us. So thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Jen.
Where can people find out more about Chest Fever and you, your other bands, all of that stuff if they need to?
Sure. You could find out about us I run a record label, blindoutrecords.com. We'll be premiering each week a little story about this whole Massey Hall experience we did in the last waltz. You can find us on chestfeverofficial.com, at chestfeverofficial. You can find me at Dan Cervantes, and I've got my hand in many different projects and all around the universe. So, I'll be knocking on your door before you know it.
You're doing so many things, man. You make me tired every time I see you on Zoom. When I get to see you on Zoom, I guess. All right. Well, thanks. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Jen.
Well, that was a good one. What a great chat. I'd like to thank Daniel again for coming on the show. Thanks so much for listening to the FM podcast. If you like the show, please tell your friends and give us a 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts. Or you can always help us out by telling a friend about the podcast or maybe posting about your favorite episode on your social media. Whatever you can do to help get the word out. We'd really appreciate it. The FM podcast is produced by me, Jen Fritz, for Fritz Media with production assistance from Carla J. If you want to learn more about Fritz Media, go to our website, fritzmedia.ca, and to learn more about the podcast, go to thefmpodcast.com. As always, a big thank you to Said the Whale for providing the theme music for the show. Okay, so we're going to go on with the song of the week this week, which of course is from Chest Fever, or Chest Fever doing the band, however you want to look at it. This is from their forthcoming album, The 21st Century Last Waltz, live at Massey Hall, which is set to come out on September 18th. Here's The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. Bye. See you next Tuesday.